Well, welcome everyone. This is a very interesting topic that we've been following for many years. And basically, Google has had several major changes to their algorithm. And the first one was named after an individual whose last name was Panda, and we'll explain all this. And each following update has had a name. Now, at 10 Golden Rules, we like to simplify things. And that's, if you've been to some of these webinars before, you know that we like to take these complex internet marketing topics and make them super simple so you can understand them and apply them in your business. And for our clients, we like to simplify them and do the hard work for them and show them how to do it. So today we're going to go back to the origination of the Google Zoo. We're going to explain about all the major changes. There's been, thousands and thousands of changes through the years, but we're going to explain the major changes and what you can do about it. So super quick, I want to start with Panda, and then we'll explain the whole agenda for today. But the first major update that got a name with an animal was Panda. And this took place starting in February of 21 and continued through 2012. Google will often roll out these updates. And so this one happened in 2012. And I blocked my friend's website here, but a friend of mine from an internet marketing mastermind that I was a member of, his website absolutely fell off what we call the Google cliff. And so he was running along here with 464,000 keywords ranking on the first page of Google, 18,000 keywords in the top 3. And he got a ton of content to his website every single day because people updated all kinds of content on his website. And then on his website, he would have those little ads on the side. Remember, they used to say ads by Google with like 3 or 4 O's, ads by Google. And people would come to his website from free Google traffic, click on his ads, and go to other websites. And Google was making money because they were clicking on Google ads. He was making money because he was partnering with Google on those Google ads. And then all of a sudden the bottom dropped out. And this was because of the Panda update. So that's why you got to pay attention to this stuff, because today we're going to talk about the good side, like what you can do to get your website right, get your SEO right, get your Google Maps right, so that you're on the good side of the updates, and how to avoid getting in trouble with some of the negative sides so you don't fall off that Google cliff. So I mentioned we're back in 2012. Google rolls out this major update. All kinds of websites starting to get disrupted. And Google didn't really give us that much information back in those days. Today, there's a Google blog with all kinds of information about the changes they're making. But we sort of pieced this together, we being the search engine industry and the team at 10 Golden Rules, over several months and years, when Google would talk about these things at conferences and in press releases, and also in their their patent filings and their trademark registrations, things like that. So what we learned is the engineer who was in charge of this major Google update was named Navneet Panda. He was from India. And basically what they did is they put together several thousand human quality raters. And they asked people to go through websites and rate these websites on several criteria. And they went through tens of thousands of websites over several years. Would you trust this website? Is this written by an authority? Would you put a credit card in? Would you take a prescription recommendation from this website and give your kids medicine that this website recommended? All kinds of very trust-based, authority-based, quality-based factors. And then Navneet Panda and his team wrote an algorithm that summarized what they learned from humans looking at websites, and they wrote it into a mathematical science-based algorithm that could evaluate websites on the fly using the Google spiders. So essentially what happened was the sites which were determined to be low quality sites that had low value add and were reduced in the rankings. Like my friend disappeared from, and by the way, his site was not low quality. He got dinged for other reasons, but essentially he fell into this trap of huge amounts of content. And the sites that had authentic, high quality content that they wrote on their own were increased in the Google rankings. So, this was one of our first major lessons from Google. And that was quality, not quantity. Because back at that time, we had learned, the search engine industry, the marketing industry, the legal industry, we had learned that the more content, the better. And so lots and lots of companies and people and SEO, search engine optimization professionals were getting hundreds of articles written overseas, and they were being written in India, they were being written in Pakistan, they were being written in the Philippines. And back then you could get an article written for $4 or $5, and people were just putting hundreds and hundreds of articles on their website. And it was very common when you go to a website that you'd see grammatical errors, you'd see spelling errors, and you could sort of weed through it because it might be an article on a topic you were interested in. But back then, in the early days of the internet, like sometimes if you got an article on the topic you were looking on, we were happy to read that. Obviously, we wanted a higher quality article, but we didn't have ChatGPT available, and Google results weren't as precise. Essentially, what Google is trying to do is improve the quality of a Google search result. So they got rid of sites with low quality, bad spelling, bad grammar, improper context, and they brought in sites with higher quality. And there's a lot more to it, and we'll get into that in some more detail. But suffice to say, the importance of understanding these Google algorithm updates is you can improve your rankings and you can prevent from decreasing your rankings. So without further ado, I want to just get a feeling for who's with us today. And maybe just quick show of hands, or you can put a note in the chat. Would you say that you are someone who has your SEO nailed down? Like you absolutely are an expert and you're here for sort of the higher level training? Or would you say that your website's a little bit more behind the times, and we'll extend the zoo story? Maybe your website's a bit of a turkey. So how many of you feel you're super advanced, and how many of you feel you're just getting started? And then maybe there's some of us who are in the middle, or you can't find the chat box. Okay, good. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. Let me just have a look over here. And I also want to thank you for being here and congratulate you for being here, because you took time away from work and family. You got on the Zoom, you got everything to work. And look, the fact is you had other things to do today, whether you had personal obligations or you should be, writing that paper or something. Maybe you're just procrastinating. I want to thank you for being here. But the real reason is because you care about improving your firm and you want to use technical information to get ahead. And you're one of the rock stars, like me, who goes to conferences, goes to sessions, wants to learn this stuff. And what I find is that your results are going to be 100% or 200% more than the people who don't make the time to learn about their business and to make their business better. So my mission today is to share with you the history of these Google updates. And I'll explain why we name them for zoo animals at 10 Golden Rules. And when we go through each one of these major updates, we're going to share simple lessons that you can apply for your SEO and your overall web performance. Now, if you're like me, your favorite radio station is WIIFM, or What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Get it? So we're going to give you strategies you can employ immediately. We're going to talk about how these updates impact all 5 parts of Google. We're going to talk about how you can use new technologies like ChatGPT, and importantly, how not to use ChatGPT. I'm going to answer questions. And if I can, please indulge me for a minute. And I'm going to share with you why I believe I'm qualified to speak about this topic. So first of all, I come from Winnipeg, Canada. Very beautiful on a nice summer's day. Probably looks a lot more like that today. They just got a bunch of snow. And this is the Assiniboine Park Zoo. And there's an awesome polar bear exhibit. So if you ever want to see polar bears, I know it's on someone I know, it's on their bucket list. You can see the polar bears at the Winnipeg Zoo. And then if you want to, you can go, I don't know, about 5,000 miles north to Churchill, Manitoba, and see the polar bears live. But we got smart and we moved down to Florida, and that's my wife, Bonnie, and our little guy, Parker, and we live in Boca Raton, Florida. Now, my career, I was very lucky to work on one of the longest marketed brands in the history of brand marketing. And I went to work at Coca-Cola, and they had been marketing Coca-Cola for over 100 years. And I tell you, some of the earlier experiences I had in my career where I'd been able to come up with new ideas. It was really hard to come up with a new idea for brand Coca-Cola. Matter of fact, one of my big ideas, they handed me a file and it was about this thick. And they said, hey, here's the research on that. We decided not to do it. By the way, Pepsi did it and it worked. So that's another story. I also worked for McDonald's. I worked for McDonald's restaurants on the agency side. And then I sort of got my dream job as the director of marketing for McDonald's restaurants, managed about $40 million worth of advertising and marketing. And I went directly from selling some of the most delicious high-fat foods in the world, Big Mac and French fries, to working at ediets.com. Now, eDiets was a .com startup, and we were very, very successful. We grew the company from, basically a startup to $60 million in revenue. And we used to run $40 million worth of banner ads back in 2002 on AOL, MSN, and Yahoo to generate traffic to the eDiets website. Now, while I was at eDiets, I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association. And I wrote a presentation called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. I think that's the book right here over my shoulder, this side. The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing book will celebrate its 20th anniversary on October 10th, 10th month, 10th day, 10 Golden Rules was the start of our company. And 10 Golden Rules was my first book. And then Internet Marketing for Law Firms, or actually it's called Advanced Internet Marketing for Law Firms, will be my fifth book. Our company, 10 Golden Rules, is designed to help law firms get more traffic to their website and convert that traffic into signed cases. And our ultimate goal is the hockey stick. Back to my Canadian roots and my Winnipeg Jets. I always like to sneak that in there. The shape of the hockey stick is a business term that means we want to get this kind of shape in growth in terms of our traffic to the website. So this is 1,000 or 2,000 visits a month. We get that up to 9,000, 8,000 visits and 20 or 30 leads a month. Now, leads for law firms are calls, forums, and chats. So we want to improve the leads, and we get up to 246, 236, 232. So tremendous growth rate and tremendous amount of success. And here's a real live hockey stick in the making. This is for our client Law Tigers. And this is a publicly available website called SEMrush. And we had 1,100 search terms ranking on Google when we started back in November. And now we're over 6,000 in about 14 months. So this is an amazing, amazing success story. Be happy to share with you how it worked if you're interested. So without further ado, I've been, as you can tell, I've been working on this stuff and writing about digital marketing and teaching digital marketing since the early 2000s. I always joke that I was working on digital marketing when Google was still in beta and Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school. It was right around the time Al Gore said he invented the internet. And so without further ado, let's get into the Google Zoo and understand the major algorithm changes and how you can take advantage of it for your website. So just to give us a quick placeholder, what we're talking about today is, principally the Google SEO results. So when we do a Google search for personal injury attorney near me, you're going to see 4 sections. And I mentioned earlier that there's 5 sections of Google. I'll share the 5th one in a minute, but we're now focused on these 4 sections of Google. This is the Google screen. These are pay-per-lead positions. If somebody clicks and calls, particularly on their cell phone, they're going to call directly to you, and you're going to pay Google for each lead, for each qualified lead. If you get a bad call, you don't have to pay for it. Now, I was really pleased when I grabbed the screenshot to see our new client. We've been on board with Lyons and Snyder for 4 or 5 months, and they were in position 1 last night. So I was very happy to see that. So this is the local service ads. But we have a whole webinar on that. You can find it on our website. But today we're really focused on the organic stuff. So there's pay-per-click. We also have an entire webinar on pay-per-click. That's not the topic of today's discussion. But most of what we're talking about today is organic search, how Google's organic algorithm affects these rankings. So like if I search for personal injury attorney near me, we see Shiner Law, Ged Law, Hoffender Law, Boca Injury Law, right? So these are the organic search results. What we do in our website, in our local search, in our organic work, and we're going to talk about that today, also affects Google Maps. Now note, this top one is a sponsored. Typically, there's 3 results in Google Maps. Google calls it the map pack, and they connect to these dots on the map. Very, very effective, very powerful. But what we see is if you get this part right, if you get your SEO right, you're going to see an increase in your Google Maps listings, the number of times you come up in this area. And if you get this part right, you're going to see an increase in your SEO. So everything we're talking about today has a sort of beneficial effect. And I'll also tell you about a strategy over here that's going to affect you over here on the Google screen. So my personal belief is that when Google changes these algorithms, these algorithm changes, they connect the dots on all their algorithms. So for example, when you get more Google reviews, you're going to improve your SEO. When you get your Google Maps listing improved, and you connect your Google Map listing and put it on your website, you're going to improve your overall SEO. And also when you get more reviews, it's going to directly impact your Google screen results. So when Google changes one thing on these algorithms, there's a good likelihood that it will impact each of the 5 areas of Google. So just to lay a baseline, again, we have a whole other presentation on the ABCs of SEO, but this is kind of our updated SEO presentation. But I just want to lay a baseline for what the core fundamentals of search engine optimization are. Because people are always asking, like, how do I get, improve my SEO? How do I come up in the listings? And so I say, Google has about 600 factors in their algorithms. And you'll see today there's, 60,000 factors, but there's about 600 main categories. But if you simplify it down to 3, I call it the ABC of SEO, because most of us can remember that. So the A is the architecture of your website. Your website's got to be nice and clean and easy for the Google spiders to read, because it's not a human who's determining where you rank, although there is the human quality raters, but that's fed into an algorithm, and then the mathematical algorithm is figuring out who they should put on the top of a Google search. So first and foremost, your website's got to perform well. There's a number of factors on these different tools that we look at when we evaluate a website, but suffice to say, this Parker Wakeman website is doing fantastically well. They got an A at 97%. And my friends at Hughes and Coleman also got the A with 97%. And then, if you read further down, we can learn about some things we can do to improve the website. Naturally, when you get a lower score, there's going to be a lot more improvement that we do on a website. Now, the A is the architecture, the structure of the website, the code, how it's built and how the spiders read it. The B is backlinks. And if you've ever heard the term on page and off page are things that architecturally you can deal with. Backlinks are off page, it's other sites and how they affect your website. And essentially, if more other websites link to your website, this is another website linking to you, linking back to you. It's nothing to do with what's on your website. You can't affect this. Other people have to add you to their website. They're linking to you. So in this case, the Cornell University Law School is linking to my friend Scott Silver, and that link is a very high value vote for Scott Silver's website. It's a .edu, which Google sees as important and hard to get link and highly valuable, and it's the law school, so it's a law.edu link. And also getting high value press release links. So we do a lot of work with the media to try and get links to our client's website. So here's a link from business.com to one of our clients and a link from LegalZoom. They're important websites. They're highly relevant. and they've got that activated clickable backlink over to the website. Now, another part of backlinks is you got to make sure you don't have bad backlinks. So this is a link I found when we were doing analysis for a prospective customer, and they have a link from this site. The first thing you see is one of those security alerts. And here's a link from like a graphics company in another language. So you want to have relevant links. You want to have links, as close to home as possible, or even, within the United States, if you're a US based attorney, and you want to have relevant links from relevant websites. So A is architecture, B is backlinks, and C is content. And this is an example of some great content for our client Vaca Law. They're a family lawyer in New York City. And this is awesome content. And what we do with all our clients, I'll talk a little bit more about this, is we do a lot of videos to answer questions, and then we write a great blog post that incorporates the video. Why is that so powerful? Well, it's super high quality content. You've actually got the attorney explaining the concept, answering the question, and literally this is a blog post that's written in the form of a question, and the content's extremely high quality. And we'll talk more about how that works well in the search engines in a minute. Here's another high authority piece of content. For our client Law Tigers, we create what we call pillar pages. And this is about a 14 or 15 page guide for everything you want to know about the big motorcycle rally in Sturgis that happens once every summer. It's the biggest deal for motorcycle riders. And every year people are looking for where to stay, what to do, what's the lineup, what's the concerts, what's the parties, and how do you get there and where do you stay and all those kinds of things. So we put out a new guide every year, and that's an example of super high quality content that you can add to your website, and it's in the form of several blog posts, and then it's summarized in a guide. And by the way, when people take the time to download the guide, Google knows that. They follow you with analytics. We all have Google Analytics on our website. They follow the user's journey. The user does a search. Almost anything you search about Sturgis, we come up number 1, 2, or 3 for this guide. You come to our website and download the guide. Google knows that you interacted with content on our website, and that's going to give us more points in the Google algorithm. But again, just to simplify it down, A is architecture, B is backlinks, and C is content. And we're going to talk about how Google's evolved their algorithm in all these areas as we go through the zoo. So without further ado, let's visit the zoo and learn about some of these updates. So a little bit more on Panda. Again, this major update designed to reward sites that have high trust, high authority. You put in a credit card, and reducing ranking for low quality sites. And again, they did this by having a bunch of humans analyze websites on a whole checklist, and then taking that checklist and applying it to a mathematical algorithm that Navneet Panda and his team wrote. Now, is one of the risks of this part of the algorithm. Because remember, what the algorithm is looking for is quality, authority, trust, okay? And there's a new tool out there that a lot of us have been attracted to, this shiny ball called OpenAI or ChatGPT. Now, a lot of people jump to the conclusion, this is amazing. We don't need to write content anymore. We can just put a prompt into ChatGPT and it'll write the article for us. Do I need a car accident attorney if I was rear-ended? Who needs a blogger anymore? ChatGPT writes that blog post in about 30 seconds. But there's a problem with that because Google and even Microsoft has warned us against using this ChatGPT content. And if you do enough searches, and I've done several searches on ChatGPT, basically I've searched for like what to do if you're in a car accident. How do you select a car accident lawyer? What are the key things you should do after a motorcycle accident? And there's a certain sameness to all of those articles. There's a certain glossiness. Don't get me wrong, ChatGPT is amazing for answering questions and giving you quick feedback on things. However, I caution that it's not hitting on a lot of these quality frameworks that we're going to see in the Google Zoo. But there are very good uses of ChatGPT. And again, we have a whole webinar on ChatGPT. And next month, we're going to have an all-star panel of experts who are all AI for law firm experts. But here's a great use of AI content research. Create a series of clarifying questions about selecting a car accident attorney. And we come up with several questions, and then we use it to develop new content structures for the website. So we're going to look at experience, success, and all different factors that we want our client's website to rank for. And we get these questions, frequently asked questions, suggested by ChatGPT. Because for a lot of these websites, we've been writing content for 7, 8 years. Our longest lawyer clients, 15 or 16 years. So we're always looking for new ideas, and the AI is giving us a series of new ideas. And then we create our plan, something like this for the website. Now, here's the next level of preparing content for your website. And frankly, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years, and thank God we have, because it really reads into these Google Zoo updates. And what we do is we ask all of our clients, and I do it myself, but all the attorneys, to answer simple questions that they get asked all the time. And we do it on video. And you might have guessed that the fifth part of Google I was referring to earlier, right? There's LSAs, Google Maps, pay-per-click, and SEO. Google owns YouTube. And a huge part of that YouTube algorithm, huge part of the Google algorithm is YouTube's. If you add search engine optimized videos to your YouTube channel, and we then add them to the client's website, you're hitting on that fifth and very important part of Google, which is video. And video is becoming even more important in some of the most current Google Zoo updates. And we'll talk about that. But here's the basic strategy. Answer questions that you get asked all the time in the form of video. It only takes about 15 minutes. You could answer 4 questions quickly. Just get a tripod and set your iPhone down on your desk. Make sure the audio is really good. And you can literally be sitting at your desk and answer the questions that customers would ask you when they come into your office, the questions that you get on your intake. And here's an example. What happens if I get hit by an Uber driver? And we put that on YouTube. We answer the question. Then we add it to the blog. So now we've got a video blog with words. We've got a blog as well. You saw the earlier example. We also use those videos in social media. And Google's latest update, they're basically admitting that social media is part of the algorithm. We've known that for some time. And then we also add the video to Google Maps. Remember I said that they're connected. Google Maps is connected to Google SEO. And so it's very powerful if you're updating your Google Maps on a regular basis as well. So what we do is we shoot a dozen videos every quarter. And then we have a video every week that goes on YouTube, search engine optimized, on the blog, goes out on social, goes on Google Maps, and we're sort of checking off 5 or 6 of the very important strategic boxes in terms of developing our SEO. Now, here's one of the big wins that started showing up in Google results, and that's the people also ask or answering questions. So in this case, Jeff McDonald, who I showed you earlier with the video example, he has the best answer to this question: can you sue for a sprained ankle? So according to all of Google, the website with the best answer to this question is the Jeff McDonald page. And then here's another series of questions that people had asked about that similar topic. And if you click the down arrow, you're going to see the website that gets that incredible SEO result. So a big part of what we've been doing for many years is we've been writing high quality content by using video and by using that authoritative voice of the attorneys. We'll show you more about that as we go along. Another important part of Panda is how your website performs. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier when I said, if people come to the website and they watch a video, they spend more time on the website. If people come to the website and they download a free guide, they're telling Google that, hey, not only do we like this website, not only did we like this article, but I'm going to download the whole guide. I'm going to give this company my email. I trust them that much that I'm going to get their entire guide and read their entire guide. So there's a lot of factors in your Google Analytics that can tell you how your site performs. So for example, this website had 118,000 visitors to their website. We're getting a ton of that traffic from organic search. See 107,000 of those sessions. Lots of people on the site at the current minute. And some of the key things we're going to look at: how much engagement time. So the average person is spending a minute on the website, and that's pretty good these days, because we also had a lot of promotional stuff going on. And 600,000 events, meaning they took some kind of action on the website. So you want to make sure, because again, part of that algorithm is not just the front end SEO, but it's also how does your website perform? Because if people spend time on your website, those are those quality indicators that Google's looking for. And basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to give users the best search results, right? Like if you ask a question, think of something random, are there any local football programs for my kids? I happen to have a football right here. What local football programs are there for young kids? When you're asking a question, right, Google's trying to give you the best answer. They're trying to figure out, where are you? You said local, right? So now they're trying to read your mind, because they know based on your previous searches and where your computer is located, what local means. And they're figuring out football. And we'll talk about all these things. But like, if you're doing the search in North America, you're talking about like this kind of football. If you're doing the search, somewhere, anywhere outside of North America, you're talking about soccer, right? So Google's trying to read our minds and give us the best search results. So when they send someone to a website, your website's got to work. You got to have quality stuff. You got to have videos. You got to have stuff for them to download and answer their questions in a quality manner. So, big summary here is that, what they've done when they've redone these algorithms is they've tried to reward the websites that help us, that answer our questions, that do it quickly, that do it efficiently, right? So if your website's performing well, you're hitting that, that check mark in the algorithm. Okay, next up, now this is one of the brand new Google Zoo updates, but it's so closely connected to Panda, I wanted to bring it up at this time. And it's called EEAT. Now, for a long time, Google's had shared with us that one of their core strategies that they're looking for is websites with EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So you have to be an expert on a topic. You have to have knowledge on the topic, and there's got to be some indicators that you have some level of professional expertise, or even social expertise. Authority, is very sort of closely linked to that, and then trustworthiness. Some of those trust factors, and we've talked about many of those through the years. Things like, you're members of associations, you've gotten some awards, and social factors, like you can download an app that shows how many Facebook fans you have, or how many LinkedIn followers your company has, or you have as an individual. And all of those things are now weighing into the Google algorithm. And of course, more important than anything is Google reviews, because obviously that's their tool. So we talked earlier about Google's quality raters guidelines. They now have over 10,000 people who are still constantly going through websites, rating those websites, and giving feedback to Google. And Google recently added something new. It's a brand new table to help, sort of qualify content. So this is the kind of detail that these guys are going through as they're doing the site analysis. And then Google just added this new E called experience. Now they sound very close, experience and expertise, but basically experience is the content creator has firsthand experience in the topic. So you got to prove to Google that you've got, you got the chops, right? So things like social media, videos, user-generated content, communities, and forums. So being an expert out there throughout the internet contributes to the new Google algorithm. Oh, and by the way, EAT is the restaurant in the Google Zoo. So this is the new restaurant called EAT in the Google Zoo, and all our friends. And when you're visiting the zoo, you can go to EAT the restaurant. So this is this includes several significant changes to the quality raters guideline, where they're also looking at, does this person have the experience in the industry? And so, one of the things that you're starting to see all the time now is you're starting to see a picture of the person who wrote the article. And so that's something that we're recommending, is you want to position the expert on your website, on each blog, on each article, and throughout the internet. And that's why those videos are so powerful. So for each of these sections, we're going to give you the core SEO strategy. And the new SEO strategy for EAT is you're going to build experience by using the name and photo on higher authority websites, on your own website, doing videos and social media to present the individual as an expert. All right, our next cute, fuzzy little Google Zoo animal is the penguin, maybe one of the most beloved of all Google algorithm zoo updates. And the penguin came around to identify bad links. So, basically, if you know the basics, and we talked about it a few minutes ago, Google is giving you points in the algorithm for all the websites that link to your website. And actually, links was one of the things that made Google different from all the other search engines that came before it. And there was like 11 search engines before Google, like Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and Microsoft. Like, they all had search engines before Google. So why did Google become, the hundreds of billions of dollars of success story? And basically, the biggest differentiator that Google came up with was they ranked sites based on their importance, based on the number of other sites that linked to the site. So back in the 2010s, 2000s, it was just about how many links your website had. So a lot of people in the SEO business would, build 100 websites. And then when they signed up a new client, they would just link to the client from all 100 websites, and boom, he'd go right to the top of Google. And, those were the good old days. Trust me, it was a lot easier to rank websites because you could just write some content, build some links, and boom, you were, right on the first page, at least in your hometown, right? But what happened over the years is a lot of SEOs do bad things. And we've never done bad things. So we're always what we call a white hat SEO agency. And a lot of people try and cheat, and they get into the gray and the black hat stuff. But what the bad things are is they would buy a bunch of links, and they would pay a bunch of websites to link to their clients' sites. And Google has made that illegal, or against their terms of service. So we started. So what happened was, the people who had lots and lots of links would come to the top of the search engines very quickly, and they were paying for those links. So Google developed the Penguin algorithm to identify the link spam and identify the manipulative link building practices and penalize the cheaters and reward authentic, high quality links. So basically, Penguin's looking for natural, authoritative, and relative links. You saw some of the guides we wrote, the guide about Sturgis, or the guide to consultative divorces. Those are the kind of high quality pieces of content that bloggers are going to find, that media is going to find. They're going to link to those resources in a natural, authoritative way. Now, of course, you can urge that a little bit. You can send press releases, you can send information about new high quality content that you have on your website. And when somebody picks up that press release and they link to your website, or they talk about it in a blog post or an article, you're generating authentic, high quality links to your website. So Penguin only deals with your site's incoming links. So other sites linking to you. People always get confused. These are not the links you put on your website and you link out to a Wikipedia article or something. These are only links. And what we learned from Penguin, the big SEO strategy here, is don't pay for any links. Don't buy any links. Try and build the best high quality content on your website, and then let people know it's there and get genuine, authentic links to your website. Next up is the pirate, and I got to do it. Arr! This is one of the quick ones. But basically, Google put a major platform in place to penalize people who are cheating, basically stealing content. Duplicate content is sort of became part of our lexicon, and a lot of you have heard about that. So just copying, pasting content, and then the next level of that was stealing music, movies, software, and things like that. Also, very against Google's terms of use, and probably against international law. And so Google started penalizing you for that. So the moral of the story is you've got to generate authentic content. You can't just be duplicating other people's content, using their videos and selling their software. Next up is Pigeon. And around 2014, 2015, Google started putting a lot of focus on improving local search results. So the Google Maps started to appear around this time, and the ability to get localized results. Like if you can remember back, and it's a long way now, but a lot of times, you'd search for personal injury lawyer and you'd get people in all kinds of different states, and you get people, listing sites and all, articles about personal injury law and law schools. And, Google hadn't refined their art, right? So all these improvements were to improve the search results. And one of the big improvements that started happening in the mid 2014, 2015s is adding things like, the ability to differentiate personal injury lawyer Dallas or plumber near me, and the ability to show us results that were more relevant to our local geophysical location, right? And a lot of times today, you still do a search and Google says, can I use your location in the search result if you're doing a private search? So the SEO strategy here is you want to improve your local SEO. And we have a whole other webinar on Google Maps if you want to dig into this. But you want to work on your Google Maps. You want to have a review program, either a software that you send out to make it easy for your paralegals to request reviews, or you want to have, we have a program we do called our VIP kits. I have one right here. We send out a little goodie box to past clients, our clients' past clients, and we ask them, we tell them, hey, we bought you a coffee. There's a Starbucks gift card in there, and we want you to be part of our inner circle. And we've got some shirts and hats and stuff like that. And by the way, could you do me a huge favor? Can you do a Google review if I text you the link? So we work on maps. NAP is name, address, and phone. You've got to have a precisely consistent listing for your company and your website everywhere you come up on the internet that's identical to your listing in your Google Maps. And then lastly, you need local links. So not only do you need links from websites, but you need the Chamber of Commerce and your local association and your local bar association and your local business association, things like that, linking to you locally, which improves your likelihood of showing up in a local search for your local business. Next up is Hummingbird. And this one's interesting because there's a major core algorithm update, but it didn't necessarily affect the results. So it was like super important in the algorithm, but it wasn't like, Panda and Penguin that knocked a bunch of people off the first page of Google. But basically, Google was doing a lot of work, it still is, on trying to get smarter. And this is basically like natural language processing. Semantic search is kind of like moving into the artificial intelligence range. Because if you think back, in the mid 2000s, a lot of the searches you did were very literal. Like if I search for 10 golden rules, but I put in the number 10, and our company is spelled TEN on our, on our book and our website, Google couldn't figure that out. So the Hummingbird update was part of a series of updates we're going to talk about here, where Google's trying to understand language at a semantic level, where number 10 is the same as 10. And they also built the knowledge graph, a database of over 500 million elements to understand how they're connected to each other, right? Like 10 golden rules is connected to search engines, and it's connected to law firm conferences and websites, right? And it's starting to understand, okay, if somebody searches for, the 10 golden rules of legal marketing, they're probably looking for the 10 Golden Rules website. So one of the solutions we started coming up with back in the mid 2015s or 2014 was answering questions. And I talked earlier about that strategy where we have the attorneys answer questions on video, and then we drop that content onto the website. Or the final thought here is you want to match the query to the content. So one of the things about Hummingbird was it got better at understanding language. And so if you actually had like a whole story or a paragraph or an answer to a question comprised around that exact search query, Google's looking for that connectivity. And that's the SEO opportunity there. Another update called Rankbrain, understanding keyword intent. It's another flavor of Hummingbird. As a matter of fact, they're very closely connected. For example, is the person looking for a Paris Hilton video or the Paris Hilton location, the location of the hotel, the Hilton Hotel in Paris, and understanding the difference. And now Google's starting to use personalized search and search history. So if you're not doing private searches, Google's getting better and better at understanding where you're located, the type of searches you commonly do, and your device. And if you're logged into Google, it starts giving you better and better results based on trying to understand your intent and just understanding the intent of search, not just the words. So the answer here is to sort of write stories. And we started evolving through this period from loading the website with a bunch of keywords, where, in the old days, we might have, Berkowitz and Berkowitz Law Firm is a personal injury law firm based in Boca Raton, Florida. We're not a law firm, we're a digital marketing agency, but we're a personal injury law firm, and we do car accident law, slip and fall law, and motor vehicle accident injuries. So if you're looking for a car accident lawyer based in Boca Raton that does slip and fall injuries and major brain injuries and traumatic injuries, contact 10 Golden Rules. And remember those websites where we loaded them up with keywords? And even if it wasn't as bad as I just used in that example, it didn't read very well. And basically Google started saying, like, make this content good, make it right for humans. And we're seeing that as a consistent theme through a lot of these updates. Next up, Cheetah. We'll see a couple of updates that are all about your site's performance. And remember, again, in the old days, you would go to a website and it would be like super slow, and you'd be waiting and waiting, and then finally hit the back button and go back to Google. So Google started figuring out, well, let's be proactive about this. If your website's not super fast, if it doesn't download, within like a second, we know that people aren't going to like this, and they're going to just hit the back button. So we're going to push those guys down the Google search results. So page speed is in your own interest, right? Like, obviously, when people come to your website, it's got to download quickly. But you got to make sure, particularly on mobile, like this site's 63 on desktop, but it's even worse on mobile. Your website better download super quickly, and it better work on a slightly older iPhone or smartphone, because not all of your customers have a brand new shiny iPhone 20 and they're sitting in 5G Wi-Fi in your office, right? So you got to make sure your website's super fast. So there's a number of criteria, and you can actually, this tool is Google's Page Speed Insights, and it'll tell you what needs to be improved when you do it. Now, one of the characters who loves to go to the Google Zoo is BERT. I know this one's a stretch. Now, BERT stands for, came along in 2019, stands for the Bidirectional Encoder Representations from Transformers. You see, I had to write that one down. But it's a deep learning algorithm related to natural language processing, and it helps the machine to understand what a sentence means. So we talked earlier about like the Hummingbird update and the Rankbrain. We're starting to understand the difference between 10 and 10. Now, BERT's getting even smarter, and it's understanding the context of a sentence. Google called it one of the most important updates in 5 years, and it impacted 10% of the search queries. And here is where we really got that from the mountain from Google. write for humans, not the search engines. And that's what I was talking about earlier about not loading with a bunch of keywords. Really, Google super, from 2019, 2020, 2021, really made it clear that you can't write that old SEO copy loaded with keywords anymore. It's going to penalize you, not only help you. Another update, we called it Saint Bernard. I think Google calls it helpful content update, but at 10 Golden Rules, we always look for the animal that most represents the result to add to the zoo. And Saint Bernard is, we voted as the most helpful animal, because if you get lost in the mountains, he's going to bring you a keg of rum, a flask of rum. So that's a really helpful animal. And he's also going to haul you back to the city, right? So, helpful is about, the next level of answering questions. And we've talked about the evolution here. And we thank God we were ahead of it, for all of our clients now. Some of them have hundreds of videos answering questions on their website, and their SEO is absolutely hockey stick through the roof because we're answering questions. We're helping people. Our websites are helpful. Essentially, when you do a search, you're asking a question because you don't know the answer, right? We don't do a search for something we already know unless we're just like searching for our own website. So, think of answering questions and having stuff on your website makes it super easy to people figure out what they're trying to figure out. And I think the last one we have here is Core Web Vitals. EEAT actually is newer than Core Web Vitals, but we touched on that earlier. Came out this year, and it's to improve the user experience of websites by promoting faster load times, responsiveness, improved stability. Again, it's sort of an evolution of what we talked about earlier about the overall functioning of the website, and just making it like super, super effective. So let's wrap up the Google Zoo, and then I'll be happy to take a few questions. First of all, Panda was the first sort of major zoo animal that got a name, and it was all about quality, not quantity, because people were writing hundreds of pages in foreign languages, translated to English and stuff like that. And it used to work because Google used to be about, hey, this website added 10 new pages today, and that used to boost your rankings. But then Google said, you got to add, don't add 10 pages, add one really high quality page every day. And that's really, really effective. Penguin was about building quality links and penalizing you for any bad links, paid links, casino links, foreign links, irrelevant links, links from porn sites. Pigeon's about improving your local results, improving Google Maps. We talked about improving NAP, name, address, and phone. And there's a little insight here that I'll share with you that we learned from the local service ads. And as I mentioned earlier, when you do something in one of the Google areas, like when they change an algorithm, it generally affects other algorithms. So what we learned about the local service ads is you don't need to have the most reviews to come up at the top of the local service ads. And we've proven this several times now with clients, particularly the ones opening new locations, is, there might be lots of competitors with 200-300 reviews in that location. But if you can get 1 or 2 new reviews per week, you can appear in the local service ads. So by extension, I'm assuming, and I'm pretty confident, when Google changes one part of the algorithm, they change the other part of the algorithm. And so we believe that 1 to 2 new reviews can also boost your maps result. And as I said, when you boost your maps result, you generally boost your overall SEO result. So the learnings we get in the 4 parts of Google and even the 5th part of Google that I called YouTube earlier, when you win in one area, you win in another area as well. And Hummingbird, answering questions, matching query to content. We talked about that. Rankbrain, writing stories, not keywords. So the evolution from, getting a bunch of crappy links and writing a bunch of crappy content and loading your website with a bunch of keywords to really trying to produce high quality, authentic expertise content, writing for humans, helpful, super fast load times, and the latest update, EEAT, adding experience. So putting your picture, being the author, getting your picture to appear on several other websites, videos, forums, community sites, really making you the expert and having the experience in your industry. So at this time, a couple things just to wrap up. We'd be happy to do a free zoo audit for your website. So if you're watching this today, you can just ping us in the chat or in the questions. Just send a direct message to myself or Jenna. And then if you'd like to, just otherwise hop on our website if you're watching this, sometime next year and you're on a Zoom and we on our YouTube channel, we get these all the time. We'd love to meet with you. So feel free to just hop on our 10goldenrules.com website and contact us, set up a meeting. We'd be happy to do a free audit of how your website's doing with all these zoo updates. And I'd love to get you a hockey stick. I mentioned we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of these amazing case stories for law firms where they started out with, a couple hundred website visitors and we're now into the thousands, and they started out with 10 or 20 cases a month. And we've got several signing, 80 motor vehicle accidents a month, 100 motor vehicle accidents a month. We'd be happy to get you your own 10 Golden Rules hockey stick. I love to speak at conferences, and if you think something like this would be great for your local bar association, trial lawyers association, please make an introduction. I'm everywhere. Obviously 10 Golden Rules or Jay Berkowitz on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So please reach out to me. Be happy to come and speak at your organization. And now I'd be happy to take some questions. I see a couple things over here in the chat. Awesome. Okay, Rebecca asked, how often can we expect updates to these algorithms in the future? Well, there's a couple ways to answer that. One is that Google's constantly updating stuff. So even if we go back to Panda, like I think they're tweaking Panda, whatever that means. Like there's probably a section of the code that they call Panda. And like we saw with EEAT, it's essentially an update to the quality, the user quality guidelines. They got 10,000 people going through websites, and then they built that into the algorithms. So there's pretty much a major update every year or two, and then there's constant tweaking going on the website. Thanks, Rebecca. Paul asked, are there any tools that AI can refine ChatGPT content so I don't have to edit myself? There is one, and it's called, that I know of, and there's many, but there's one called Quillbot. So if you write your article in ChatGPT and then you drop it into Quillbot, it humanizes it. It might put in like an analogy and make it more like human writing and less like generic GPT writing. Question from Lauren. Are there any specific industries or types of websites that are particularly affected by these updates? That's a great question. Many of these updates were designed for specific industries. So like Pirate was designed to capture pirating. So there wasn't a bunch of illegal movies and videos and pictures out there. And part of that was probably Google wanted not to get involved in the lawsuits when people were, sort of posting those. Thanks, Ike. And he just said, great webinar, Jay. And then a lot of the updates, and we didn't spend a ton of time on it, but a lot of them were based around shopping and shopping sites and ranking for shopping and ranking for pricing and things like that. Obviously, e-commerce is a different category to professional services, and we spend most of our time working with law firms and professional services firms, and obviously everything we do at 10 Golden Rules, we do as a professional services firm. So the examples are not around, pricing and shopping and stuff like that, but a lot of those industries are affected. I guess, Panda itself had a major impact on information sites. Like some of the big information sites like answers.com and sites like that got completely wiped out because their answers were coming from, $5 articles overseas. They weren't high quality answers. So, you know, the content sites got affected, but clearly that's a huge strategy, and it's an effective strategy. And many content sites blossom every year to take advantage of the ability to generate traffic by answering questions. So I think that's it. I don't know if I can see questions in the LinkedIn event. Let me just have a look over there. Got things on different screens if I'm looking around. Eugene wants to give me a free trial of LinkedIn Navigator. Yeah. Jenna, if you know if we can, I don't know how we take questions from the oh, okay. There are a couple comments. Oh yeah, some of the people in the LinkedIn replied to the their positioning, and that they said they're in the middle. You know, they're not the wise owl and they're not the turkey. They're somewhere in the middle. Great. All right. Well, I'm happy to answer any questions anytime. Come connect with me at LinkedIn, Jay Berkowitz, 10goldenrules.com, and I look forward to meeting you sometime in the future.